What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today we're going to be updating one of our older videos, the best grind spots for silver. Now this is going to be a pretty long-winded video, probably a long one, so I'm going to have a lot of timestamps in the description. But with the whole Edania part 2, I wanted to give it some time to actually test it and, you know, also ask other people, take some data, and see what it's all about. But one thing that a lot of people usually need help with, and you know, new players, especially returning players, they don't know where to grind. So they actually made a few changes lately to recommended zones, and I think this is good. We talked about that one, but you have to be full buffed for it to have pretty decent accurate recommendations, and no one really wants to be full buffed when, you know, they're just looking at a spot and just wasting money testing it. So that's why we're making this video. But yeah, there's a few things that, you know, this doesn't always pick up, you know, properly. But anyway, with that said, the way I like to do this is I like to sort by AP, and we're going from, you know, beginning, seasonals, all the way to the end game. Now, admittedly, a lot of these early game spots are kind of irrelevant, simply because with nowadays with the Hyperboost thingy, they kind of just push you into season gear all the way to pen, and you're around like 250-ish AP. So like if you're a new player or a returning player, chances are your seasonal gear is like this one, you're around like 260 AP, and they also buff that one, so that like pushes a lot of the older spots just out of the game and irrelevant. And then after that, Hyper Boost pushes you up into like 2 or like 350-ish. So yeah, I think it's a good time to talk about it. So with that said, down the AP list, what would I recommend early on? For newer players, we're going to be starting at, you know, okay, so the way we're going to start at 180. First of all, with Blood Wolves. This one's a good early game one just because eventually people are going to need infinite potions. I believe through the Olvia Academy, they give you a bunch of stuff, and they actually changed the Hyper Boost thingy so that, you know, you could just look at this and how to get everything you need, including the materials to get infinite potions. So yeah, I think this is also an early game one where people are just learning their class and everything. So with that said, one thing I should talk about before we're going in is by default you're going to see this number. Basically it's your total sheet AP and DP over here, and what you really want to look for is hit this view total stats. This combines your crystals, artifacts, lightstones, reforges, and everything. And you want to basically see this number. And basically green good, red bad means you're overcapped or undercapped in AP. And at least you want to at least hit the recommended, and max effective is ideally what you want to be at. But as long as it's green, generally good. Okay, so Blood Wolves early on, good one if you still need a few more pieces to finish up your infinite potion. This one's for the health one in particular. And then, you know, this one is in the 180-ish or like 300 total AP. Now, we're honestly going to be skipping a lot of spots just because it doesn't take that long to get like 260 AP. And then even after that, around like up to 350. It's not super hard. So I wanted to talk about more of the relevant spots. Okay, so going down into like when you're doing seasonals, you're probably going to be doing the Bumbling Buccaneers. This one I think is a solid one early game because there's a few Olvia Academy quests you have to do, and also getting your artifacts early on. New players aren't going to have the Kabuas or the you know, new artifacts that came out, which is, let me show you this one real quick. Not reforge artifacts. People are not going to have the Dekia ones simply because, you know, these kind of are at a lower rate than others, and Kabuas are the ones people are going to go for. This is the PvE one, and these are more tailored towards PvP, and this new one is for life skillers, so that's what you really want to look for. So yeah, going down into Bumbling Buccaneers, do the quest for that, get some early artifacts. Ideally what you would want is the damage one, so like anything that looks like this kind of artifact would generally be damage or accuracy. You want the AP ones. This more damage allows you to go into higher spots. Good to go. Once you can get the Kabuas, you're good to go. Okay, so going into more of the relevant spots, we're going past 260. This is around where you're going to be after seasonals. Like, this is max season gear, and this is what you want to do. So Paddock's Island, this spot I would say is not terrible. However, the only downside is it's out in the middle of nowhere, and getting there is probably going to be the problem for most people. So to give you an idea, it's out here. I believe through the Olvia Academy, due to sailing quest, it gives you a boat, but still getting here is probably one of the struggles. However, it is pretty empty, and if you just want a grind spot that, you know, isn't too bad, I think that one is okay-ish. So, oh my god, hold on. The reason why these are good is because these accessories right here, they drop at a higher rate, or at least from my experience, you get a lot more an hour, and they kind of add up simply because you can melt these down for the Essence of Dawn, the colored ones. I believe the Evasion and something else, and you can get them at a higher rate. Also, there's a treasure item here for the Rich Merchant Ring, which makes it really nice. Claws are at an all-time high. People use them for various things, mostly for adding the crystal to your armor slot, and that one's just nice to have, and people have multiple armors. So the trash loot itself, not so great, but most of the silver you're getting out of here is from accessories, claws, Capra stones. Well, I guess Capra started at an all-time low, and the treasure item. So aside from that, pretty decent rates for all of them. It's pretty decent. It's out of the way, but if you care to go there, it's fine. I heard they were going to be removing Elvia, so I guess, unfortunately, we don't know too much more about it until it happens. They just said they were going to remove it at the Heidel Ball. So if you're going to grind here until then, Orc Camp is probably one of the most consistent silver spots. Basically, all the stuff, like the Seed of the Void, Voltara's Flames, and everything, you just kind of vendor them. You sell it to the NPC, and it's a lot of consistent silver. However, you don't get any like rare drops or accessories or anything. It's just straight silver to the vendor, and it was good. Honglim Base at 270. This bot is not too bad. Let's say you're getting right out of seasons, pushing from 260 and then doing your Hyperboost stuff. This spot is still pretty decent. It's a little bit less relevant nowadays, just simply because people push from 260 all the way to 350 with Hyperboost. But, you know, in between, I believe this is a spot worth going for, and it will help you start at least getting some crystals, and that will help you once you get into the Karazad's area. After that, I would say a lot of these spots are now less relevant because, you know, Fallen God, they kind of just give you that for free nowadays. And so, like, last time I made the video, Jade Starlight was pretty good. I still think this spot is decent because it has a higher rate to get the Iridescent. And if you get one, like one every couple hours, you're doing great. This spot, ideally, you would have gotten the Flame of Frost. This is what you go for, the Embers, to make your Libresca helmet. Now that they give it to you for free, that's kind of irrelevant. But if you grind the spot, grind is easy. Trash loot is pretty decent with Agris. And the big ticket item, which is the Iridescent 5 Billstone, drops, you know, pretty frequently. Every, like, I would say between, like, 3 to 5-ish hours from my experience back in the day. So that's pretty good. Let's see, what else is pretty decent? If you're doing these Dekia spots, so like Sulfur, Pelaku, Histria, Achman, you were going for the treasure item, or like the map, archaeologist map, or the compass. Those are treasure items, but Histria is a pretty solid one because people still need Dekia fragments. Obviously, you need the Elton and Vodkin pieces for your compass if you want to. And I guess that's a little bit of a, you know, that's it. But you were going for the treasure items. You get Dekia fragments and the Void Tainted Whispers, which are basically for your accessory cup upgrades. And that's fine. Hex Sanctuary, Elvia. Who knows how much longer this will last, but as long as it does, it's still pretty good. And ideally, what you're going to want is Crystallized Despairs, because this will allow you to upgrade your Vel's Heart into like the Blessed and Exalted one. I assume that after the change, they're going to add it to more spots, but until then, Elvia Hex has been a pretty consistently solid spot. Like, I don't know, 3 to 5 billion plus everything else. High ticket item is the Blessed Soul Fragment. You get a lot of Crystallized Despairs an hour, and it's definitely worth doing. Plus Trash Loot. It's a high density spot. It's very fast paced, and it's really fun, actually. I have a couple of videos if you want to watch it. Sakraya Upper. Now this one is one that got reworked in the past couple of months. It does give one of the treasure items, and it's not as bad as it was before, but it'll at least help you get treasure items. And I believe they also changed the sacred scale, so like, you know how you would combine it and it just gives you free money, but I think it's like it's a weekly thing if I remember correctly, but you don't just drop them like candy. It's a little bit harder, but it gives you more money. So if you're going there, you're going for the treasure item, research box, get a bunch of these. These actually go up in price because you have to use these to get to lower. And yeah, that's pretty good. So Sakraya Upper, not a terrible spot anymore. Ezerheed Highlands, they're actually buffing the spot according to the Global Lab. So next following week, starting, I believe, last week of August, they're going to be buffing, you know, the drop rate for Kabuas and the fragments. So a lot of new players, returning players, will probably need them simply because you do need a bunch of them for PvE when you're collecting different sets. You don't particularly need like 10 of them, but it is very convenient to have a lot of them depending on what you're grinding. I would say having at least 2 or 3 different sets of them will generally be good enough, but if you want more, you're just gonna have to get more. So Ezerheed, pretty good spot. They're buffing the rate for Kabuas as of the 4th week of August, and should be good. Let's see. Next we have, well, actually no, this is Dekia 1. We'll be talking about Dekia 2. Tungrad Ruins, still pretty good, and nothing has changed from that since last time. However, it's just, you know, a very fast-paced grind spot, a couple billion an hour, and also as people are going to start needing more fail stacks later on, I have a prediction in a couple months that people are going to need more fail stacks because the new Ecleta accessories. Right now, they're new, but later on, people are going to start like slamming for Oct and all the way to Deck. You're going to need a bunch of 300 plus stacks, and these are probably going to come back into the rotation and be a little bit higher at some point. But also, the telescope pieces, always very high value. You get a bunch of sealed black magic crystals, a bunch of black stones, and everything else. Yeah, Tungrad. People might say it's bad. I don't think so. I think it's a very good spot. Dokkaebi Forest. This is also a very decent spot. I was well overcapped in this spot when it first came out. It was very underwhelming, and then they buffed the spot. But by the time like they buffed it, I was already at a new spot. But for people around this AP, I think it's pretty solid. For it has a higher rate than Honglim for all the crystals. So for people converting into Karazads and everything, you have to convert the Karazads from Debo to Karazad to get the free Jin crystal. So if you're getting the free one, you don't have the AP ones, which you're gonna have to grind out or buy yourself. And this one is a pretty good spot. Next we have Fortunate Golden Pig Cave. Now there's 2 different pig caves, fortunate and non-fortunate, right? And you could check to see if it's open or not by talking to the NPC right outside, or you can look at Garmoth and everything and just see, you know, is the cave open or not. People generally post if it is or not. Fortunate will give you all the different color crystals. Non-fortunate is just the red one. So if you're targeting something in particular, you would go to the one that you want. So if you're just going for silver, chances are you want, you know, like ones that are also not just red. So this is the best spot for going into like I guess the mid game, I guess nowadays you can call it, and getting the most amount of crystals. A lot of times there is a pretty decent rate to get bonds, and yeah, it's good. So basically you do 5 waves of pigs around in a circle, and then you get a scroll. You fight the boss, and then you get a little chest thingy that's like, here, you could get a 10 mil gold bar or a TED accessory. Most of the time it's going to be the 10 mil bar. Ask me how I know. But, there's always that thrill of getting that accessory from the box. And yeah, it's pretty good. Next, we have Dark Seekers. This has been a fun up and down spot over the years. I think as of right now, it's in a very good spot. But when it first came out, it was decent. Then they nerfed it, then buffed it, like nerf and buff like 4 different times. At its current state, pretty good. If you can't grind to higher end spots, but you need black magic crystals, this is a very good spot for it. Also, you get Essence of Devouring for fail stacks, treasure items over here. I believe if you're going for a specific treasure item, Dark Seekers is probably not the play. You'd rather go to Tungrad. But, if you're going to grind here anyway, it's probably for the best you do it. Yeah, aside from that, Kabua is always at a high value, full artifact, fragments, decent. So Dark Seekers is a very good spot. Golden Pig Cave, how we talked about the Fortunate one, how this one drops all the crystals? This one is basically the same thing. You'll get the same amount of trash, but it only drops the red one. This one is open 24/7. This one is not, or like Fortunate is not 24/7. Regular one is 24/7. Okay, so next we have Ash Forest, Dekia Lantern 2. So you're probably wondering, we just saw Ash Forest. What does that mean? So there's regular Ash Forest, Dekia 1 and 2. 2 is stronger than 1. Things hit harder, but also drop better loot. This is one of the spots where you can get red artifacts, which are these, the Dekia artifacts, all damage reduction and evasion. These are mostly built for PvPers, but also, there are some PvE situations where I think this is, actually solid. But mostly for PvP. Treasure item here, high value Stalwart Fortitude. There's currently an event going on, which is probably going to drop the price. But having these crystals will help you get CC resists. And, at the higher end spots later on, you're going to need them. So trust me on that one. Dekia fragments, treasure item, Forgotten Limbo box, Capris, everything else. Pretty solid spot overall. But I would say for the most of you, the only time you're going to be here is exclusively going for the Ash Forest Beast. And then after that, you're moving on. 350. This is a 350 spot. I would consider, once you can reach Edania, part 1, 350 AP, this is what I would consider endgame. So Ethereum Castle, this is what you want to go for. Basically, every week there's a weekly throne boss, and you want to fight it just because it'll allow you to turn your Wailing Fallen God armors, which is the 4th tier, into the Edania armor, and that, is currently the best in slot. You just upgrade it over time. So yeah, you ideally want to push into 350 AP. Ethereum is the entry level spot for that one. Once you get there, you're going to start grinding out your Wand Crystal, and these give you more AP against Edania monsters. So even if you're barely breaking 350, this will allow you to move up into the higher end spots just a little bit later from the Edania AP and monster damage reduction. So to give you an idea, later on, these push up into higher end numbers and give you more stats overall. So these crystals, it's worth grinding for. Also, if you're not at the Wailing armors yet, let's say you're at Try and you're going for Wailing, these drop as well to Silent Origins, or if you're at like Duo or something, these go to Try, and these are Try to Tet. I believe, depending on the price, these could be a little bit cheaper than using crons, from assuming vendor crons at 3 mil each. So buying a Silent, if you can, is a little bit cheaper. So you're saving some silver. Or Zekia. This spot is decent, but it's kind of like there's only one spot now. There used to be multiple. I don't know why they changed it, but anyway, what you're going to go for here is the Gem of the Void. This Gem of the Void allows you to craft, you know, Crystal Void Destruction and 2 different ones. So to give you an idea, Akrod and also Void Destructions. And there's a budget-friendly version. Let me show you what they are. So let me see. Where is it? Oh my god. Hold on. The Precise Destruction. This is the budget-friendly version for 100 mil. And there's also an Akrod. Yeah, this one. You could buy this one off the market. It's pretty cheap as well. So the fragments that you would get, these upgrade these into the best in slot version. It's plus 2 AP per crystal. So, I mean, like, it's nice, but it's something that you don't need early game. You will need them end game. But, yeah, it's something just to collect over time. Okay, where are we? Yeah, so Orzekia, you're going for the Gem of the Voids. I'd recommend starting to put orders on them just because they do fill. But if you can grind them and also get them off the market, it speeds things up. Orbita Castle. This is the 3rd Edania spot. We're skipping the Nymphomare just because, like, by this time you could, like, this, I would rather grind somewhere else unless you were going for the Bond exclusively. The drop rate for these are so low to the point where, like, I would rather grind Orzekia than Nymphomare, and or if you can go straight to Orbita, getting the Jin will be a lot more useful overall. Orbita, higher XP, more silver. You know, in my opinion, it's a little bit more dangerous because, you know, enemies kind of burst you, but I would say it's definitely worth learning over Nymphomare Castle, and ideally going for the Jin is a lot nicer. So, Floodlands, they have 3 different spots, and like Orbita, Great Red, and Zephyros. They're all the same, it's just the terrain to get from pack to pack is what's different. I have a lot of hours in here. I really like roof spots, and parties of 3 where you can grind with your friends, it makes the grind a lot faster. Or a lot more like cozy, I guess, in a way. So yeah, I'd recommend trying this one. I would say if you're going to grind the Dark Energy Floodland spot, I would recommend the Orbita one. It's more linear. There's no like hills to climb and everything. It's just kind of like go from point A to B to C without having to cross bridges, jump gaps and everything. So that's where my friend group did it, and we did just the Orbita one. Tenebrum Castle. This is a very solid spot. I think it's kind of boring, but that's subjective. And I would say people who can grind Tenebrum are, you know, people say it's a lot easier. You're going from point A to B to C. So let me show you that on the map real quick. So Tenebrum, how do you find the spots? You see these little circle thingies with like the 4 little pillars from point A, B, C, D, like 4 circles. These are the grind spots for most of them. And what you do is go from like one circle A, B, C, D in a square, and then you fight the boss, do some AFK phases. So very comfy spot. I think it is a little bit slower paced, but you know, it makes a decent amount of silver. So I think Tenebrum is a really solid spot between Orbita and Zephyros. So spot number 4. Zephyros Castle. So they're actually going to be changing a few things throughout the next week. 1, this is not going to be considered the highest tier anymore because, you know, Edania Part 2, that is the new highest tier. And they're reworking a few of the things, so like you cannot get, you know, corrupt oils from here anymore. I think that was a dumb change. Just let people get them wherever. But yeah, a few things in the loot table are going to be changed, but that doesn't stop people. So you should always still get the Han Crystal, Dusky Ruin. Very solid spot for Edania Part 1. And then I don't think you can get the Refined Origins anymore. But I mean, it's still going to be decent silver. It's just not going to be considered the highest tier tag anymore, because that's where they want Part 2 to be from. Next, we have Star's End. This one is very solid. It gives a lot of Gluttony Crystals, which turn into the Corrupted Gluttonies. You know how we talked about like the 2 Aqu rods and the void crystals before. This is also one you can upgrade from the regular one to upgrade plus 2 AP. It's nice to have. And also all the stuff, I believe, you know, not going to be in the highest tier anymore, but you still need to grind here for the gluttonies. Couple bill an hour. They have a random chance of spawning like the big boss. And one thing I would recommend for this spot, you do have to probably swap around how you set your build up. So because Star's End is you break the crystal and then you're going to be doing a lot of down attack. So most people just have back attack and crit. Down attack is not really used in too many grind spots. So one thing you're going to probably want to change is Crocodile Tooth. So it's kind of like Vicious Shadows, right? It has the same stats, except instead of back attack, Crocodile Tooth has down attack. Use that for Star's End. And also Reforged Crystals. If you're doing down attack, it's basically the same thing over here. You're going to want to have... you know, it's kind of like the same thing with back attack. You just replace that with down attack and you're good to go. Okay, where are we? So, yeah, Star's End, very good spot. You're still going to have to grind here, and even after the change, because Gluttony Crystals are pretty rare, and you want to grind them out to go get it yourself. Good. Sakraya lower. This spot is going to be, you know, once again, not the highest tier, but it is a fun spot. I would say this is very chill, and it's a lot of RNG depending on, you know, how much silver you make. Some hours you can make like 3 bill, some hours you can make like 6 bill an hour. It really depends on RNG. So ideally, your goal is to get, you know, a lot of sealed black magic crystals. This is the #1 spot for endgame, to get as many sealed black magic crystals as you can an hour. But the way it works is every 15 minutes ish, you get like an orb that follows you. It one-shots the enemies, and then sometimes it upgrades. You start at green, sometimes it goes to blue, then yellow, and then red. It's RNG what color you get at the end. Most of the time it's going to be between green and blue, sometimes yellow. I've never gotten a red one before, but you know, I've gotten a bunch of those. And so one thing that is the high priority item is the Sakraya shard. This will allow you to craft and upgrade your crystals. So when you've seen my videos before, how I have different Sakraya crystals for CC resistances for PvE, there's a budget version where I can show you that. So like these crystals right here, these are very cheap. These are the budget options, no big deal. And it will not break your bank. It's like 50 mil tops for them. These are the ones that are 3 bill each, and you grind Sakraya to upgrade these crystals into the other ones, the newer versions. They give +4 AP against monsters, so if you have 2 of them, you have 8 AP. It just helps you do more damage. So it's nice to have, but the alternative is just getting these Crystal of Natures and then whichever CC type you are going for. So yeah, lower Sakraya, you're going for the Sakraya shards. You do get a bunch of them from the memory drops over here, no matter what color. It's always a chance to get one. So I would say averaging about, you know, 5 to 10 an hour. Guess it depends on RNG, but within that range is, I would say, your average. And yeah, decent. Very RNG spot, but it is very chill and relaxing. Now, we are going into Edania Part 2, grind spots, minus Gavinia Coastal Cliff. This one, according to Garmoth, this makes the most amount of silver. It's like, what, 6 bill an hour? It's a very slow-paced grind, because it's like fighting... If you've ever done Olins, right? You're basically fighting a sulfur golem, and then you, like, it has a high, or I would say high, but it has a better chance of a drop for, you know, the pigments or the dyes for your weapons and armors. It also drops the Olin piece over here. This is a solo one instead of Olin's grinding group spots. And then, you know, everything else. So, according to Garmoth, this is the highest silver an hour spot currently. But it's just very slow paced. So, if you like that, great. If not, it is what it is. Now, these 5 spots right here, so like the remaining 5 spots are Inner Edania Part 2, right? So it's going to go from this one, 2, 3. This is listed in order by easiest to hardest entry level. Once you get into Inner Edania, which is Part 2, you're going to be grinding Aphrodon Temple. As of right now, like, your only goal is to get, you know, the wand crystal while you're here. Obviously, if you get other stuff too, that's nice. But your goal is to get the Twilight earrings, because that'll allow you to upgrade your Ecleta accessories. And then once you reach the cap of here to reach 2120, you want to move into so like you filter by Edania, and then you want to move to the second spot. The reason why is because this one drops the bond. So you know how we were talking about before, like the Han crystal and all this stuff from part 1? Since in part 2 they raised the crystal AP, and you kind of want to just move up at the pace you get the origin crystal, simply because it'll allow you to grind to higher spots. Being at spot number 2 allows you to get the ring piece. So for example, Aphrodon Temple, the only thing you can get are the earrings, whereas the second spot you can get earrings and rings. So progression ordered, I guess, is how they want you to do it. All the drops here are essentially the same. Trash loots are different, but the difference is you get a bond crystal instead of a wand. Most people at the current high end, myself included, I got all the titles done here, are at the Magaya Temple. This is the third spot where you can get 3 pieces. So you can get earring, ring, and belt this time. Belt being at the higher rate of the 3. Like, according to Garmoth, it's, in my experience, it's like, you know how you get maybe 1 or 2 accessories an hour? There's a higher chance it'll be a belt at this one, whereas there's a higher chance it'll be a ring at the second spot. And then the first spot, obviously, there's only 1. So if you're targeting a specific one, you want to go to the appropriate spot. But I would say for most people, just grind the highest one you can, because obviously there's a Jinn crystal over here, plus 30 more Edania damage, and then all the other, you know, loot that you can get over here. So unless you are specifically targeting a certain accessory, just grind the highest one you can do. Scales of Judgment is the group grind spot. It has the Divine Authority tag that most people probably have not even read. So basically, when you have enough AP, you can like attune yourself to like one of the node manager or something, and it'll allow you to do extra damage. You can go there early, but you're just not getting the bonus damage, which is kind of counterproductive. I wish, you know, they added group grind spots earlier on, you know, maybe at like a 405 spot or something. So it's like they added a group spot, but it's not even ready to go right out the gate, because it's probably going to be at least another month before people are going to be getting here. And I've done these other 2 spots in a party, obviously not efficient. I don't think anyone can grind Event Horizon yet, and there are a few people that can do this one, but you know, most people are still at the 3rd spot. These are not super accessible to like 99% of players yet, just because this is new content and current meta. So what's the difference? Over here, starting with Arceon and group spots, you can get the Han crystal for 180, and I actually got super lucky getting this one. Here's what I did. This is not efficient at all. I got really lucky, and that's all there is to it. There are quests here where you kill things and do the Alistin quest, and I just did this in a group, and then we got the quest done. It dropped. That's all there is. It's extremely lucky. Most people, if you have a Jinn, you're doing just fine. Like, even for myself, I still grind a lot of the other spots. I have a full Jinn, another 159 crystals, and so even without the minus 30 over here, you can do up to the 3rd spot, and then upgrade your accessories, and then you'll be good to go. So yeah, for most people, I would say this is kind of the cap right now, and I would say in like, you know, a couple weeks to a month, people will probably be able to grind these two. And Event Horizon, this is probably not going to happen for another like month and a half, 2 months, according even for the top end people, just because they gear check. This is like full deck, new accessories and everything. So, I mean, if you want the white dye, which is the cool stuff, chances are you're going to be grinding at the 4th spot or the group spot eventually. Event Horizon is just not happening for quite a while. So, unfortunately, I can't give you too much data on any of these 3 because I can't grind there efficiently yet. But up to the first 3, it's not really about the silver right now. Like, obviously, it would be nice to get a lot of silver, but most people are going for the full wand, crystal, Bon, and Jin, and also the accessories to upgrade their, Ecletas. So, silver is kind of like a secondary thought. Obviously, it's good to have. You need it to cron your accessory upgrades. But, I get happier when I see, like, an accessory drop more than, oh, I'm making 3 bill off of trash loot or something here. I'm like, wow. But yeah, I just want everything else. You need the fusion shards, the Nevs fragments. One tip I can give you, if you are going into Edania Part 2, let's say you're a returning player or something, do this early on to Agris Gold Coin. There's a bunch of stuff in your adventure journal. So what you would do, adventure journal, adventure logs, go down to Edania logs, and start doing these legacy ones. I know you can't see it with the code in the way, but anyway, just go down there, adventure logs, Edania logs, and just do them. So there's a guide out there, bunch of where everything is. There's a map from someone on the Korean server who made it, and they just pinpointed everything, so just Google it. It's super easy. Well, some of them are easy at least. But anyway, those are all the grind spots for everything now. My recommendations is, if you are a new player, around like, just starting off between 250 seasonal to Hyperboost 350, I would probably just say from 250, try Honglim base all the way down, or camp for a little bit longer. You could try going for treasure items, Upper Sakraya. Most of the spots early on, or I guess early mid-game, down in Ulakita are my recommendations. So Darkseekers is pretty solid. Tungrad Ruins is pretty solid. Ezerheat Highlands down here. All the spots are pretty decent. Just don't go to City. This one is not great. They've tried to buff it and it's still not great. Mid-game players, if you can do like mid to higher entry level endgame, once you could do Edania Part 1, just try to do the highest one you can and get the crystal. Once you get that full crystal and you equip it, try to push to the next spot. So Ethereum, I would probably still skip Nymphomare and then go to Orbita. So ideally what you want is to grind the spots that will allow you to upgrade your crystals. So you know how we talked about the Gluttony upgrade, Void Crystals upgrade, Sakraya Shard Crystals upgrade. Those are the spots you want to be at, because you cannot, it's very hard to get those off the market and you're going to need them. So you want to grind those spots for upper to mid end game. And then once you're at the end game, you're going to try to, obviously do the highest spot you can, like Tenebrum, Zephyros. And once you're past that, up to the first 3 spots. Once you get the crystal, try to move to the next spot as you can. And then after that, this is really just an accessory push on AP. That's about it. You're worried more about accessory drops than silver. Obviously, silver is nice, but yeah, it's like, if I could have bought everything, I absolutely would have, but you can't. Those are one of the things you have to grind out yourself. Okay, it's been 40 minutes, and I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. I know this is a very long-winded video, but it's one of those things I do maybe like 2 times a year, just because it's kind of important to keep people in the loop. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you still have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments, or you can join the Discord, ask for help, and I'm happy to point you in the right direction. And yeah, so I wanted to make a quick mention. For the next month and a half or so, we currently have an event going on where If you can support your creators, so if you're thinking about buying any A coins or upgrading your game package, if you use my code, I get a small commission out of it, and I truly appreciate it. And yeah, whether you're a free-to-play player or not, as long as you're enjoying my videos, that's really all that matters. Hopefully you enjoy that. But if you're thinking about buying any pearls or anything, use my code. I get a small part of it, and it's always appreciated. So if you do use my code, feel free to leave in the comments or join my Discord. Let me know you used it so I can thank you personally. Always appreciate it, never required. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.